Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everyone? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan. The Ides of September are here. Everybody wants football, and it's not even a week away now. It's going to be Sunday. The Eagles will open up the season in Atlanta, which has kind of been not a great place for the Eagles to go travel to, a team they've had to play on the road. But that doesn't matter. It's a fresh slate. Adam, we're going to get into all that. We've got some really cool announcements to make. We've got some team news we got to get through, and then we'll give a little early look into this Eagles-Falcons matchup for Sunday. First of all, we don't even have to wait till Sunday. If you're just a huge NFL fan, Thursday night opener, really good.
Right.
Dallas Cowboys versus the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and already it wouldn't be 2021 without it being marred by something, right? And of course, the COVID list is going to keep Zach Martin, Pro Bowl right guard, out of that game, even though he was vaccinated. Tough deal for the Dallas Cowboys there.
It is, yeah. Look, it's Monday morning here, and that to me, the Saquon Barkley injury, whether he plays this week against Denver, we'll see later in the week. He's close because he was able to practice with contact last week. So he's close. He needs to get medically cleared, and he's got to feel good about playing. But, yeah, you're right. The Zach Martin going on the COVID list, that's crushing. And they just got back Leo Collins, the right tackle. That hurts them depth-wise. Someone else has got to start. So, yeah, that's tough, and that's not what you want. The Eagles have, knock on wood, been very lucky with this COVID issue. They got just T.Y. McGill on it. They're one of the teams, if you ranked teams with the most COVID issues last year and the teams with the least, the Eagles are close to the bottom in terms of they didn't have a lot of them on there last year. They
got theirs out of the way early, right? It was training camp when Doug Peterson, Jordan Mailata, and Nate Gary and Matt Pryor, I think, all were on the list. And then it wasn't until later in the year when Marcus Epps, I believe, went on the list. Yeah, they didn't have a rash of it, so they were good for that. All right, before we get into podcast-related stuff, announcements, this game, I'm going to open the floor right now because it was such an exciting weekend of college football action. I will open up the floor for any one of us to brag or pat ourselves on the back about our college football team. Adam, you first.
Oh, sorry. God. Well,
no,
okay.
We don't want to talk about Temple getting destroyed by Rutgers.
Embarrassing.
No?
I work with Greg Schiano a little bit. I got to know him, Coach Schiano, a little bit at ESPN. Nice. I enjoyed getting to know him. Never met him before until I worked with him. And I always knew he's best off being a college coach. And boy, that was true against Temple. They embarrassed Temple.
That was bad.
That was bad, man. That I know it's only one game, but man, it was an embarrassment. Yeah. Turn the faucet off, man. I think they're still scoring.
Oh my! You cannot lose that badly to Rutgers. My Lord, Rutgers looked like Ohio State. My Lord.
Yeah, it was
bad. But anyway, I'll just take a second to brag about my Nittany Lions going on the road, getting a very, very ugly, but yet doesn't really matter. A nice, good, hard nose. That was I don't know if you saw the game, but that game was the epitome of a Big Ten game. A lot of defense, a lot of running. A couple of splash plays here, more by Penn State than Wisconsin. Wisconsin is just so strong as usual with their running game and their offensive line and their defensive line, but they just don't have playmakers. They don't have the speed that Penn State had. So all the Nits had to do was make a few plays through the air in the second half, and that game was. And then of course Wisconsin with 2 interceptions, two fumbled snaps. I mean, they really you could cue the circus music going on with them. But that was a great Big Ten game. So excited for that. Obviously, I don't know if you caught the Georgia game against Clemson, which was just smash mouth defense versus smash mouth defense. So it was good. It was a good weekend of college football. And look, I just thought I'd open up the floor to any one of us to talk about our alma maters. And it doesn't sound like you really.
My other one, Ohio U. I know they were actually on TV on Saturday. Oh, how about how Chip Kelly's 2-0 or whatever they are? Are they 2-0?
No,
I know they beat LSU.
They had over LSU. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, absolutely. Chip again, another guy who's really better off coaching in college. That's his venue to me, but it's taken a while to get things moving in the right direction. We'll see if he could keep it up.
Yeah, how again did Ohio U become part of your? Are you Temple over? Were you an undergrad?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was at Ohio U for 3 years. They were so good when I was there at hoops. Right. Won the MAC. I was there, for those of you a little bit older might remember Thunder Dan Marley.
Oh yeah,
at Central Michigan. He was there. Who who was at Ohio State? Who was at? I just know in the MAC. Then after I left, it was Gary Trent.
Shaq
Then
of the Mac, baby.
Yeah, and then Gary Trent Jr., who's now in the NBA. So
right. Oh, actually, it was Gary Trent Jr. that was Shaq of the Mac. You were talking about. No, was it?
No, senior.
Now I'm getting so old. I don't remember. No, it was Gary Trent Sr. Right, that's right.
Right, undersized power forward at 6'7". In fact, the late Henry Smith was, for those of you who really follow the Big Five, Henry Smith would transfer. Henry and I became very close friends. Henry was the only guy from Philly that I remember that I met early on in my years at Ohio U. And he unfortunately passed away, but a great guy, and transferred to St. Joe's. But Dennis Dink Whitaker was there, who played local guy, another Philly guy who came a year later with us. But boy, they were great in hoops, terrible at football. You don't want to get into how bad it was. They actually had a season where they didn't have a win when I was there, I believe.
Oh man! So you went from there to Temple. That couldn't have been much better at that point.
No, but if you remember, look, Jerry Burnt was the coach, formerly Penn and then Temple. But it was all about John Chaney, the late great John Chaney.
Oh no, I was thinking football. I'm sorry, I thought
you're right. It was all about basketball hoops there, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Arians was, he was the coach in the early '80s. It's in his early 30s. It's just crazy. Some of the coaches who coached at Temple, people forget, and some of the players.
Yeah, Todd Bowles played at Temple, did he not?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. Todd, that's Bruce's guy. Yeah, Todd.
That's
obviously.
Right. That's right.
I mean, you could go through the '90s, Leslie Shepard, and all the names. Was it Trey Johnson, the lineman?
Yes, correct? I believe there was a Trey Johnson from Temple. Yep.
Yeah. They've had quite the program. The uniforms though in the '80s were awful. Checkers on it.
Well, that was kind of more of a 1980s thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. On the pants,
Padres,
right?
Brewers,
Exactly.
All right, no problem. Let's get to some ITB news. Now, I think we talked about this last podcast, so a reminder, this week starts our renewed relationship with 97.5 The Fanatic. We are going to be on Tuesday of this week, not tonight, Monday night.
Yep, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. But every week from there on after is Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Great time to have interact. I love doing Monday nights on The Fanatic.
Please
Absolutely.
call.
We take calls,
yeah,
and it's really right after the Sunday game. So it's a very emotional day for Eagles fans, usually either way up or way down. Right. So we love being on the radios Monday night, and we're excited to be back with 97.5 The Fanatic. So make sure you're listening to us 6 to 8 p.m. We'll do it again tomorrow, 6 to 8 p.m. And after week one or after the game one, it will be Monday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. And we really encourage calls. We love talking to you guys. It's really on our ITB platform. The only time we get to interact mostly is our Q&As, which is through our Ask ITB live streams where we take your questions and answer them. But here we get to hear your voice and have a conversation with you. Exactly. So you know the number. It's 610-632-0975. So get your
and by
your voice box ready for us. Well, yeah, I worked there for so long.
Nice.
It just rolls off the top of my tongue now.
Yeah, I just want to say, I was just going to add that that show is live streamed. They live stream all their shows, so you could actually hear it no matter where you live in the country or the world, actually, right?
Yeah.
If you're overseas. I know we got calls from Texas. We got a lot of calls from our listeners, our ITB people, so we love it. As Geoff said, and it's so true. We get to hear your voice because we don't get the interaction like we get we get Twitter, obviously Twitter, Ask ITB, but we don't get to hear your voice. So it'll be great to do that. And it was kind of really cool last year. Every show there are people calling from our pod, so we love it.
Definitely. All right, so pregame show. We will be back for season 2 with another pregame show. By next podcast, I think we'll be able to announce the
on Thursday morning
specifics of it. Yeah. But we can tell you this: it's going to be 10 a.m. till noon every Sunday, even if it's a 4:00 game
Eastern time, right?
And it's going to be at Rivers Casino. You can come watch the show live if you want, right there on Delaware Ave.
Yes.
So we really look forward to people coming out and seeing it. It's going to be a great show. We're excited. Many of the same personalities will be back from last year. A few changes that for the better as far as segments and things that we're going to incorporate into it. So we're really looking forward to bringing that to you. And the first one, of course, will be this coming Sunday, 10 a.m. till noon to preview the Atlanta Falcons game. So very, very excited for that. And then by this time next week, I think we'll just have a few more details to be able to give out about shows on the ITB platform that we might be bringing to you throughout the season as well.
Yeah, we're working on. Yeah, we're just we're working on a couple more things that could be potentially very significant.
Yep.
For our company, our Inside the Birds company, and you all watching us and listening to us. So crossing our fingers. It's we've kind of taken this thing pretty far. It's
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
In
it's
fact,
really
you could
cool.
you
Really
could
cool.
say ITB is winning, Adam, right? Like we're winning right now. We're
Yeah,
doing
that's right.
great. We're bringing people onto the platform. We're really having a blast doing it, and love the feedback that we get from our listeners. And it kind of helps because you and I, well, our athletic days are way, way behind us, but we are winning on ITB also because we're using Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun. It's the longest running penny website and app around, penny auction website and app around. If you think Deal Dash is too good to be true, well, we'd have to agree with you. I mean, a car going for $900, a brand new TV, less than $2, all sorts of great electronics, things for the holidays that are going to be coming up soon that you can get at wonderful discount prices, that you win it. You beat people in these auctions. That's the best part about it. You feel kind of a sense of entitlement when you get something and you outlast everybody else for a fraction of the price. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want and get on Deal Dash. You can go to dealdash.com, or you just download the Deal Dash app the way Adam and I have. And when you register, enter the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. I mean, who doesn't love winning? We all do that. So the Eagles will like winning. It's going to be a great year to preview them and see where they go from last year, which was just a disastrous season. So there's still a lot of transactions going on, Adam. Let's go through some of the transactions that have transpired since our last podcast. Some we saw, some we didn't know were coming. The one we knew was coming was Tyree Jackson was going to go on IR. He's got the back fracture. I think you and I both accurately predicted that he was going to make the 53-man roster anyway and then go right on IR.
What a story, by the way.
I know. What a great – I meant to tell you, I heard Jack Stoll's was it Jack Stoll? Somebody maybe it was Ertz. I forget. Last week there were a lot of player video conferences.
Yeah.
And guys were asked about Tyree Jackson. I think it was Zach Ertz who said, when he first got there in OTAs, you could see a really good athlete, but someone who was a good athlete trying to play a different position. And then he said about a week or two, as soon as they got to training camp, he said he could see a huge difference. He started to look like a guy who actually knew what he was doing at the position. And that's something that I would say for Tyree Jackson was pretty early in camp. I think as far as day 1 or 2, where he was making catches and running good routes. And then you had brought up the report about the coaches feeling like his blocking was actually fairly okay for a guy just learning the position. So it'll be interesting to see how long he's going to be out and what happens when he comes back, how much development he's going to be able to get.
Yeah, the injury was it was a back fracture. I was there that day and it happened right in front of me. Now you could see him hit his tailbone, right? But he got up. I do believe he came back in briefly. And then after practice, you saw him walk off. Obviously had to make sure the back was okay. And then, yeah, he's I don't know what he did. After when it looked, I just remember he got up. Everyone was concerned because you could see him go up and get it, and then it came down on his lower back.
Right.
I was like, man, this is man, did he hit hard? And I remember saying to someone who was standing next to me, man, thank goodness it's not old AstroTurf because it's they're on grass. And now the Eagles said at the time it was 8 to 10 weeks. So I don't know, I don't know if it's going to be shorter. I don't know. I do know this, and Jack Driscoll and Josiah Scott are believed to be on short-term IR,
right?
Which is a minimum of 3 weeks. Excuse me, the first 3 games, and then you'll see after that. Driscoll's got the pectoral strain. Scott's got the hamstring injury, but Tyree Jackson is first of all, give him credit. Number one, willingness to understand that you're not going to be a quarterback at this level if you want to play. And then to accept that and to say, you know what, I could do something else. And then his hard work paid off. And Jason Michael, the tight ends coach, needs to get credit. Also, he's done a really good job. And Ertz had been quoted about him, just about how they've been coached and how they've responded to him. And Jason Michael's been around. He's actually called plays before. He did for a brief time with the Titans years ago.
Right.
So this is it's a pretty good addition here. And we're again, folks. Tyree Jackson, the amazing thing before we move on here is that he kind of just never stopped progressing. That's the thing about him. You would think he'd slow down.
No.
So the injury is remarkable.
Yeah, so let's move on to Scott and Driscoll because those guys figure to play a more prominent role when healthy. Josiah Scott made the team as the fifth corner. He's now got a hamstring issue that he's dealing with on the IR. So this is a situation where I cannot imagine the Eagles are going to go into this game against Atlanta with just four corners on the roster. That would be Darius Slay, that would be Steven Nelson, it would be Avonte Maddox, and the rookie Zach McPherson. This is why we talked about the practice squad and the importance of having to keep veterans on it. Craig James is on the practice squad. I think he's over the foot injury. He's been practicing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't
practice.
I don't know exactly. They had the weekend off, so I don't know exactly when he practiced last or what he's doing. But the practice squad is the perfect area for him to get his injury, to get ready to go here because he's the guy who knows this defense, playing for the Vikings. And this is the kind of defense we're expecting, mostly the Viking type of defense. So, to me, if he's healthy, he's got to be over Jaquette. But we'll see what happens in practice this week. And remember, folks, teams that are playing on Sunday do not have to issue an injury report until Wednesday afternoon.
Right.
Today, typically the Monday after the weekend into week one is typically a very short practice, kind of late. Then Wednesday you ramp it up. You got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is your practice week. Saturday's your walkthrough, and then they fly in the afternoon to Atlanta.
Right. Well, we also talked about Elijah Riley on the practice squad. He has safety experience, but he's also at Army. He played corner, so he could maybe in a pinch be your fifth corner as well as a backup safety. We'll see what kind of moves they make there. With Driscoll, the pec strain, pectoral strain, not a stain. We have to talk about because this is a complicated injury, as I understand it, and we can go back to what Javon Hargrave suffered last year, which was more of a tear. That's why Hargrave was out for a long time. Now, a strain technically is a slight tear. Yes. But when they tell you it's a tear, like with Javon Hargrave, then you know it's a little bit more of a full tear. It's going to be longer. As I understand it, they're hoping Driscoll's going to only be out like a couple of weeks. Now, it's hard to tell because everybody kind of heals with these things differently. But the one thing that, as I understand it, and look, this is kind of an across-the-board thing. I didn't look into per se Jack, but when you have a pec strain, it's hard to lift weights. Javon Hargrave, I don't think that's how he hurt. He tore his pec last year, was lifting weights. So it's difficult to kind of keep your weightlifting up. What if you're going to be out for a week or two or three and you can't lift weights? It just can become a little bit difficult for linemen to keep their bulk up. So we'll have to see what he is and able to do. He may be able to lift a little bit right now. I don't know how bad the strain is, but I just know that they're hoping it's more of like the week or two type deal than any longer.
Right, but he's got to miss 3 games because he's on short-term IR. So even if he's ready, that'd be great though. If he could come back in the fourth week or fourth game, that'd be fantastic. And that to me with Driscoll, this is the challenge now because remember he more or less is their backup right tackle and also could play guard. So now Dillard's your backup left. We'll find out about Landon Dickerson, who's on the active roster later this week. We'll see what he can and cannot do. Brett Toth, who just moved to guard, what a story he is. Kudos to Geoff Stoutland for his development of this kid. This is the guy that he fought for a couple years ago. They cut him. Arizona shockingly claimed him. It didn't work out for Toth there. He's back, and it's quite the story. We'll see what happens, whether he's ready to play guard if he has to play. And then Nate Herbig, and that's it. So they're down to 9 linemen. 4 backups. We just don't know about Dickerson yet. We'll see if he's able to work this week, and we'll learn more. And remember, he's on the 53. So if he's practicing, and let's put it this way, if they don't listen with an injury, then he's ready to go. As far as I'm concerned, I have a hard time believing he'd be ready 1 week, but he's come back from an ACL reconstruction.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so defensive tackle was a spot that we talked about as well. And when the 53-man came out, we were almost scratching our heads saying, how can you go into the season? You got McGill on the COVID list. You cut Ridgeway. So you're really going in there with Milton Williams and Marlon Tuipulotu as your backup defensive tackles. That didn't seem realistic, and it's not. So they re-signed Hassan Ridgeway, I think right after Tyree Jackson went on IR. So basically, I want to say Ridgeway cleared the spot, but as we sit here and record this right now, I think the Eagles are only at 52, if I'm not mistaken.
They have one spot open. Yes. Yeah, so Right. Good.
Is that McGill, or is McGill on the 52 even though
No,
he's
he's
on
on
the COVID list?
reserve. He's on reserve COVID. He's not on the active roster. He's on reserve list.
So if he comes off, he's the 53rd then.
Correct. Right. So they could actually keep him, which makes sense. Here's their options. They have two. The first option is the way it works is like when he gets cleared, he goes to the 53. If they don't want him, they could cut him. That's just, but you're exactly right. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring that up about how many roster spots they have. So Ridgeway's back. He knows the defense. That's important. You're absolutely right about how come the world could they go in and not have a veteran defensive tackle as a backup. So they're not. So they've got Ridgeway, and they could potentially have McGill. We'll see when he's ready to go. So this, and I'll tell you what, folks, before we get out of the show today, later in the show, we're going to talk. We have some early Falcons notes that are pretty interesting, but they run the ball coming off the bus with Mike Davis. This is what they're going to be doing. They're going to be running the football. So you better have depth at D tackle.
Well, that would explain something, especially. All right, so if McGill, it almost makes me think they think McGill will be able to come off pretty quickly because they have that spot open. So if he's able to come off and be the 53rd, that means the Eagles are carrying two players right now on the 53 that are probably not long for the team because once Driscoll and Josiah Scott come back, those two players may have to be released to make room for those two. And that's where I feel like Marlon Tuipulotu and maybe Sean Bradley, because they have 7 linebackers still as we speak today, which seems pretty heavy. You can see them wanting to be heavy at linebacker and D-line if they're going to play a run-first team in Atlanta. But once those two guys come back, we'll see what kind of roster tango they. Plus, other people might get hurt by then. So there'll be some roster tango going on. But basically, because Scott and Driscoll are on IR right now, two guys on the team are like, thank you, because that's the spot that they're having.
Nobody wants anyone to be hurt, but that's true.
No, you know what I mean. No,
right, but Davion, another one. Well, we don't know. You said 7 linebackers. I do wonder, I know Sean Bradley's generally a special teams player, that it's unlikely he'll play on defense. So I do wonder if Davion Taylor's not ready this week, because if Bradley dresses, he's going to play on specials. But I do wonder if Taylor's not ready this week because Patrick Johnson is a backup Sam and he's a rookie. And we know generally they're going to play a lot of 4-2-5. I wonder if Bradley, if he just dress, will he play a couple snaps on defense? Because I don't know if Patrick Johnson's ready to contribute. Right? We don't know.
Agree with you. And same thing with Teron Jackson. That's a good point. I'm not sure Marlon Tuipulotu is ready to contribute.
Right? There's a lot we don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of mystery with these younger players. How many snaps? Milt Williams, we know will be active, more than likely. It's just. And then with Kerrigan with the broken hand, he had the club when I saw him a couple weeks ago with the Jets where he was taking mental reps. He's full dressed out for wearing his full uniform. I don't want to say he's doing gassers, but he was running back and forth, just trying to get used to it. So we're going to learn a lot. There's a lot we need to learn this week.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit about the practice squad moves. First, I'll tell everybody, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any Week 1 game. That's right. Any Week 1 game, you put down $1 and you can receive $200 in free bets when you use the promo code ITB on the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. It's a pretty good deal right there. So let's talk about the practice squad. So they claimed an interesting guy.
Yes.
I automatically thought of Nate Meters first because this is a guy who's played cornerback and played safety. He's a hybrid guy, and he comes from the Colts. Meters had come from the Vikings, but again, kind of follows that trend. And his name is Andre, I believe it's pronounced Shashiri. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I believe it.
Nice.
I believe this because I believe his wife on Twitter put out a tweet helping everybody by spelling it phonetically for him. I think I retweeted it at one point.
Nice, man. I didn't see that. I got to check that out. Awesome.
Yeah, Andre, it's either Krishiri or Shush.
I would say Crocier. I don't know.
That's Crocier. No, he's not Austin Crocier. This is not the former Indiana Pacer of the 2000s.
Nice.
He did play for Indianapolis, but this guy was the Colts. So with his 6th team in 3 years. So it's good to have, obviously they stack up on these defensive backs who know the system.
Yes. So here's the interesting thing. He was a corner in college. He moved to safety with the Colts. And that was the Colts were his 5th team. The Eagles were 6th. The Eagles claimed off waivers. So obviously Gannon knows him from coaching him last season. He was at UDFA in 2018. And it's never a good thing when you're bringing someone who's been on so many teams. But the word was that he did really well for the Colts, and people will say, well, why did they cut him? I don't know. It's a fair question, but they claimed him. Gannon knows him. And remember now, the Eagles have this issue. We don't know about McLeod this week. And we don't know. Wallace theoretically should be back this week, but we're not going to know until we see what the injury report looks like.
Right.
So now the guy just got claimed off waivers. I understand he has some familiarity with the defense and obviously Gannon, but to think he could play, I don't know. But look, he does know the defense and he knows Gannon, so we'll see. I mean, he had a good training camp, so who knows? You never know. I remember when they claimed Juquay Thomas off of waivers from the Titans.
Titans, yeah.
Right.
Nice
and
job.
we didn't. And I remember being at training camp the day that they had him and thinking, it's probably not going to. The guy's claimed off waivers. What could he do? And then he became a player.
Yeah, a pretty good rotational pass rusher. By the way, was he Juquay Thomas or Juquay Parker at that?
The funny thing, you say that because I remember standing next to Derek Boyko, and he said, "I'll let you know," because we weren't sure was it Juquay or Juquay. It's so funny. Some things happen, like as you well know, you've been at so many Eagles training camps. Guy comes in. Who's this new guy? What's the guy's name, or how does he fit in?
There were more. I have never been involved in a team that had more name changes for the same guy.
Our guy, Trey Thomas.
Trey Thomas for William 1 year. For 1 year to honor his dad, he became William Thomas, and then he went back to Trey.
Gotcha.
Juquay Thomas went to Juquay Parker, or vice versa. William Peterson, the former cornerback for the Giants, went William James when he came to the Eagles. I don't know if you remember that guy.
I don't. No.
Yep. William James. So that was 3 name changes right there within like a 2 or 3 year span. There was one other person.
Well, here's a funny one.
Oh, well, the Alan Barber story. It was Alan Barber, then it was Alan Barbary, then it was actually Alan Barber again.
I was like, dude, come on, could you stick with something? No, the funny one. Here's a good one. So in the press box, this is several years ago. I don't know what I don't know if it's 2009, 2010, 11, 12. I don't know. It might have been 2012. The other Steve Smith, formerly of the Giants, who played at USC. Yeah. We had a running joke. The Eagles got the wrong Steve Smith. We all said it in the press box. We were cracking up. Because the guy, remember, he had knee problems. Pretty good player.
He had microfracture. So that was like, back then, when you were a wide receiver with microfracture, it was like you were not going to be the same.
He was really a good possession receiver for the Giants. And then
great route runner.
And the Eagles, right. And the time the Eagles got him, he was toast. He just didn't have much left.
Yeah. Same year, they also brought Kenny Phillips in, and he had nothing left.
Another Giant, right?
Yes, another Giant.
He was so good before the knee problems.
We've been through that. So I want to go back to another thing on the practice squad. A guy that the Eagles, you broke the story, I think, last Tuesday, that the Eagles were going to sign Keyshawn Johnson. That's how it's pronounced, right? Keyshawn? Like, it's not Keyshawn, like the old, it's Keyshawn Johnson, right?
Yes.
From the Arizona Cardinals. He played on their team last year. He was I thought he was like their 3rd or 4th leading receiver. Am I wrong? Like he played a little bit. No,
he definitely played, but here's what happened. He's not really. He's a possession receiver. That's really what he is. And there was a numbers game. Like him and Hakeem Butler just never really got a good shot. He was a 6th rounder in 2019.
Right.
He had other opportunities. I think the way he probably looked at it is, here's a great opportunity. The Eagles, a bunch of young guys, mostly, who have not developed yet. They need a reliable possession receiver. He's over 6'1", ran a 4.6 at the combine, ran it in the 4.5s at his pro day. But you kind of know what he is. He's a possession receiver. This guy was a pretty accomplished college receiver.
Yeah.
But he just never had a chance. They have too many receivers in Arizona.
Yeah, he was. You're right. He was their 5th leading receiver. He had 15 catches for 173 yards and didn't have a touchdown. Possession receiver. Here's what I think is really
nice kid, by the way. I've heard he's a pretty high character kid.
Well, I was going to talk about that. He's a high. I heard that as well. High character kid, good kid, and he is now the 3rd wide receiver on the Eagles practice squad because they brought back both Travis Fulgham and John Hightower.
Right.
I could be wrong, but 3 is kind of a big number of wide receivers on a practice squad. And I would just say, let's keep an eye on this situation. They brought back Travis Fulgham, even though that they had some real issues getting through to him and really issues with how he kind of handled the competitive aspect of this job throughout training camp. So I can't imagine they just brought him back and said, all right, you're on a fresh slate now. He's still the Travis Fulgham that was on the team a week ago that was cut. So let's see if there's any, as we say, roster tango or movement there. I think Travis Fulgham still has a lot to prove to these coaches. And when you see them bringing in an outside wide receiver to the practice squad, I think that sends a message both to Fulgham and John Hightower. So let's see what happens.
Okay. I agree. And then, okay, so right now they've got 5 receivers on their active. Ward, Rager, Devontae Smith, J-Jaw, and Watkins. So it's not like they need to add a 6th to the active roster, but you're right. 3's a lot. So right now, if you look at their roster, right, of Matt Leo doesn't count because you get 16 plus 1, 16 players on the practice squad plus 1 international player. Mm-hmm. And 6 of those players, you could have guys on your roster who have played more than 2 seasons on your practice squad, maximum of 6. So I wonder where they go with this practice squad. It's a good point you make because they've got corners on it. As you mentioned earlier, Craig James is on it. Raekwon Williams, who I know they gave a nice signing bonus to last year, who had a lot of opportunity. Oh, yeah. And then Marvin Wilson. Yeah, Marvin Wilson is a guy that has got some ability, who was with Cleveland, who was an undrafted free agent. So he's there as well.
He was a guy that people liked at Florida State, and I think he was with the Browns last year. Was he?
Yeah, or this year. Yeah, this year.
Oh, right? Is this his rookie year? I thought it was last year.
Yeah, he's a UDFA this year. Yes.
That's right. You're right. It sounds like he's a guy who just has to find it. He's got some talent, but needs maybe some motivation, or he needs to recognize his potential. Because I know he's got a good NFL body for the position, and played some pretty high level college football. So it's smart to take a chance on him. We'll see what happens with that. Anybody else on the practice squad?
Go ahead. Nick Eubanks. So here, what I'm told on him, he's a UDFA, I believe, out of Michigan. He's got very good analytical numbers, but that's kind of what you're hoping for those. You're just hoping those numbers could sort of prove themselves correct, and later on, if he ever makes it, to kind of contribute in that way based on his athletic numbers. But we'll see. He was with the Cowboys in training camp, and he's over 6'4", 250. The numbers look good, but the tape doesn't match up to the numbers. But they like him, so there you go.
All right, we'll have to keep this is part of what they do. Always trying to look for developmental players at good positions like that, tight end. So Nick Eubanks, any relation to Bob? No?
The data game.
And of course, to make room for some of these moves, they had to release one person. They released safety Grayland Arnold. So he will not be with the team anymore. Although
we might be back. Yeah, he could.
Who knows if they told him to stick around and if they play the roster tango game on the practice squad, which is very, very possible.
And we should definitely get into those practice squad rules because I know you brought them up last time, and it was really. I'm glad you brought it up because we'll get into that in a second. But so we're at Monday now, and you've got as you said earlier, the Bucks play the Cowboys, right?
Yep.
The Eagles play. Is the game? It has to be at 1:00, right? It's not a national game.
What, the Eagles game?
Yeah, it's a Fox game, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. It's 1:00. Come on, man. We got to know that by now. Yeah.
No, but it's got to be a Fox game. It's got to be a Fox game.
I would think so.
Has to be. Right, has to be.
Absolutely.
So, this is interesting. This is I'm looking forward to this game because this is a game, right, that they should – this is a game they should win. There's just a lot. We'll get in the preview of the game.
I don't know that they should. Really? I feel like this is a coin flip game. I don't know that they should. I mean, first of all, it's a road game. Secondly, it's an entirely new coaching staff. Although I guess you can say the same for Atlanta, new coaching staff, right? Yeah. Their quarterback is a lot more experienced and veteran than the Eagles quarterback.
Right, sure.
Their wide receiver, Riley, really a lot more, proven.
Calvin
really more proven. But then again, the Eagles have the offensive and defensive line. I feel like if you did the whole, measuring this versus this versus this, it's gonna be pretty even all around. And then you're going to get to the point and say, well, Atlanta's probably favored, Adam, aren't they? I would think.
I haven't even looked at the line. I have not looked. No, the only reason
that on the pregame show, but
yes, the only reason I brought it up is to start the week, though. I just feel like there's some times when you look at this team over the years when they weren't good, particularly last year, you go, they're in trouble this week. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'm feeling really good about this game. I like the head coach, just based on what we've heard about him. How the players, I was asked this on on Twitter, and I said I would talk about it. They've got a real good buy-in, super duper buy-in with Sirianni. Now I understand that's the preseason. This is the real thing here.
Yeah, I imagine the Atlanta Falcons feel the same way about Arthur Smith right now. That's why I try not to put too much into
right.
that
who,
kind of emotion.
By the way, had a real good chance to be the Eagles head coach had the Falcons not been the first team to offer him a contract. The Eagles were very impressed with him, and he could have been had they gotten Smith to wait, but he had a bird in hand, as they say, and he got that offer.
Yep.
But I just based on what I've heard, I've talked to agents, a bunch of them who've got players in the Eagles, and they spoke very high of Sirianni because they didn't know what to expect. It was that press conference, his opening press conference, where he was getting killed on Twitter. You and I said this, we said settle down a little bit, give the guy a chance here. And then obviously he's got so much juice, and you see so authentic. And the Eagles website has a really good video of him, not only mic'd up, but the drive in. You could see on the Twitter. He's got a real good buy-in, I think, here from the players. But as you said, look, we'll see. He hasn't coached the game yet. That counts. But I do like that from what we're hearing that the players like, and they like to be coached hard, and they are getting coached hard here. That's another thing we haven't talked about enough.
Yeah,
shame on me. They are getting coached.
We brought it up quite a few
not just
times.
a Rager, right? But I've heard it's not just Sirianni, getting on the receivers, as we've outlined several times. This new staff coaches hard. There's a lot of accountability here, and that is very, very key based on what happened last season.
It is great to hear. Let's save the Atlanta talk because we're going to get into the Falcons.
Oh yeah. We got some good stuff there. Yeah.
But I want to, let's introduce everybody to our new friends and our partners. If you want to get an advantage over your sports book, and everybody's on a sports book these days, you got to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their best bets computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all sports, gives you the reason why you should place the bet, everything. The model covers spreads, overs and unders, player props. You bet it, they got it. So if you don't want to use the model and you prefer to do the research yourself, they've got the necessary tools for your betting research needs as well. So BetQL has everything from sharp data, line movement, team summaries, lineup, injury, breaking news, leaderboards to track your success. So just head to the App Store or Google Play Store now, download BetQL, and you can get started right now. Enter the discount code ITB at BetQL, and you'll get a payment checkout for 25% off of their subscription offering. So you want to get on BetQL, you want 25% off, enter the discount code ITB, and you can find all this information in the description of this video, along with a BetMGM offer that will allow you to receive a free year of BetQL. So check out their sportsbook offers page if you live in one of the eligible states to claim the free offers upon signing at one of the many sportsbooks listed. So don't miss out on the chance to beat your sportsbook this football season with BetQL. All right. You wanted to get into the practice squad rules, and I thought that was very important because I've been kind of negligent in the last few pods and understanding exactly what you can and can't do.
No,
so I'm glad we're doing this.
Right. As soon as you brought up Jordan Howard, because we had so many questions about Jordan Howard, I'm really happy to address it. And then we had a great question. I've never even thought of this, but I'm glad the guy asked me on Twitter, so I promised I'd address it. So, yeah, look, it's 16 players plus one international player. And the guy asked me, because why don't teams – because it's a free move. Why don't they have more international players? So I asked. The general consensus is that this is a different game than they were taught. Like, yeah, guys play all over the world, but it's the techniques are different. There's a lot that goes into being an NFL player. It's one thing to be on a practice squad, be an international player like Matt Leo, who's got great size, but the techniques and the way that they play is different than they play overseas. And it's why you rarely see them. The Bills have had a guy on and off the roster who was a fullback, running back, Christian Wade. He's still there as their international player. He's number 45, but as you notice, you rarely see these guys dress. It's such a different level of football for them. They just cannot transfer their athletic skill to this game, and that's just why they don't. You rarely see these guys make it to this level. But look, this Matt Leo kid has got length. I just don't. He doesn't really stand out when you go to practice. And from what I want to understand, it's like you can't teach size, and you see the sizes. I mentioned Marcus Hunt, right? But
this guy's huge. Matt
right,
Leo is huge.
right, and so is Marcus Hunt. And Marcus Hunt is made himself a name. As you said, he's from Gastonia.
Eastonia.
He's got such length. Marcus Hunt. He's been a guy you would block kicks. So you see Matt Leo. He's huge. I mean, it's really funny when you see him. Particularly when a guy's over 6'6", they're like they just stand above everybody else and go, "Oh my God, who is that guy?" It's Matt Leo when you see him in practice.
Yeah, no, yeah. And by the way, Marcus is from Eastonia. Don't get the Gastonia people mad at you.
Oh yeah,
right?
sorry, Eastonia. Okay.
No, I agree with you. I wonder, Adam. So Jordan Mailata, the year they drafted him in the 7th round, if he wasn't as good in the preseason as we saw him and just wasn't translated, could they have waived him and then brought him back to the practice squad on using the international exemption? Like, does any player from not
but
from
he
the
was
United
drafted,
States of America,
right? But he was. I don't. It's a great question. I never thought of that. I do wonder if they ever considered cutting him. I have no idea. I never asked because his story. He's just been obviously he's been rising since 18. But I give the Eagles credit for sticking by him. Now he's got a chance to be a star. We'll see. He's got to do it for a full season.
Who's going to be the first team to use the international exemption to sign just a ridiculously good athlete?
Yeah,
who's not like who's the why can't I think of his name right now? Usain Bolt, the sprinter.
Right. Sure.
Or just somebody who's such a good athlete and has a great arm, and you're like, this guy, we can make him into a quarterback if we just. Even a soccer player who might really be a good kicker. I don't know if it's worth.
Oh, that happens a lot, right? That happens a lot.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that we haven't seen more of that. The international exemption on kickers.
The Sipas kid, the punter, the Australian rules player.
Right, but they just signed him. He wasn't through an exemption or anything, correct?
No. But I'm just saying. I'm not talking about exemption. I'm just saying international players, guys who've. Here's another question. Here, let's take the Mailata story. You wonder now that Mailata's made it. Why don't we see more rugby players on offensive line? And then again, he's a giant. I mean, he's a giant, but I do wonder, who's the next rugby player? Why aren't we hearing more about that?
I don't know. Who's going to be the badass team that tries to sign Lionel Messi as a kicker, right? In like 5 years, when he's totally done.
Was Chef missing for those of us over 50 like me? The great soccer player for the who is the where did Pele play? Who did Pele
He's from Colombia, wasn't he?
Right, but who did he play for in the soccer league? Was it the Adams? Who did he play for?
Man, I couldn't tell you.
God damn it! Why don't I know this?
Yeah. Am I even right that he was from Colombia? I feel
he's from overseas. Great Pele. Yeah. How did we talk about soccer?
Brazil. No, he's Brazil. Sorry,
okay. Brazil. But he was awesome. I mean, But I just wonder. It is funny though, because I remember watching. Because I knew nothing about Mailata when the Eagles. We know the story leading up. He was a rugby player, but I wanted to see tape, and it's just so funny. He wore this striped shirt, and he's just so much bigger than like they were like ants next to him. It's ridiculous. I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And at that OTA practice, I'm like, he had no idea what he's doing, but there might be something athletically there because I've not seen a guy that big move like this, and who knew? Oh my gosh, Geoff Stoutland. Could Geoff Stoutland make the Eagles Hall of Fame with this stuff? He's a pretty damn good coach. I mean,
coach someday.
Yeah, why did you think he got a shot? It's true.
It is very interesting. By the way, if I ever go to Brazil and someone from there has heard this podcast, I'm definitely going to be on their most wanted list for accidentally saying Pele was from Colombia. I probably just insulted the entire country of Brazil. They'll burn me at a stake if I ever get off an airplane in Brazil.
From Brazil, right?
Because I accidentally said he was from Colombia. So pardon me. Mr. Brazil, I appreciate. I apologize greatly.
And by the way, we get we get a ton of overseas listeners.
Yeah,
we were like top 10 in like some obscure country.
Yeah, we get some really funny reports like that say where we are as far as like where we rank in like Ecuador and Belize.
Sure. Really cool. It's the awesome. Cosmos. How could I forget it? It was the New York Cosmos. I'm such an idiot.
Yeah, the New York Cosmos, of course. All right.
Yes.
All right, so back to the practice squad rules.
Sure.
So you were right. You talked about the international exemption. Now teams can protect 4 players. I forgot about this. You have to protect a certain number of players per week, right?
Well, you don't have to, but you can. Yes, up to 4.
Now I don't think the Eagles chose all 4 protections last year. They usually would wind up protecting like 1 or 2 players per week. And but those protections, where don't they? You can't just protect the same guy week after week after week, right?
Um, they could. Okay, so here are the rules. They could protect up. Every NFL team could protect up to 4 players
Okay.
from being able to be signed by other teams off their practice squad. Now,
Right.
yeah, I don't. I'd have to check into how many times they could protect them. It's a great question. I'll get that answer from our guy Mike Senior from the NFL. But they could elevate 2 of those players, of those 2 practice squad players per week, from the 53 by Saturday, right? 4 p.m. Eastern, if it's the day before the game. So in this case, the Atlanta game, see Jordan Howard. So this is the question we got. In Jordan Howard's case, they did the roster tango where they clearly did not want to guarantee his salary, because had he been on the week 1 salary on the 53, he's not on the 53 now, he's on the practice squad.
Right.
That would fully guarantee his small base salary, which I think was $990,000. Not a lot of money, but what it is because he was so bad last year. And I know he had a great training camp and really lost a lot of weight. He looked pretty good. But the fact of the matter is, because he's been a guy that's clearly in the crossroads of his career, why guarantee your salary when you don't have to? So you could use the rules as they are. It's nothing illegal about it. You could cut him, put him in your practice squad, use one of your 2 elevations. Mm-hmm. That avoids signing him off the practice squad and guaranteeing his base salary. Not only paying him a salary, his game check, the real game check, but the real story is the put him on the 53 man and guaranteeing the salary. But you elevate him and you get the salary for the week. And then what happens on Monday? They have 2 choices. The first choice is what has to happen. He goes to back to the 53 by rule. However, if they don't want him, I guess you could cut him. And then decide what you want to do. And you obviously he's a vested veteran, so you work it out with his agent. But then there's the other one that you mentioned last week. I totally forgot about this. You can elevate one guy 90 minutes before the game when the inactors come in for the game if someone tests positive. And you could do that because what happens after 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, you can elevate one guy if they test positive after you have your moves on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. You could elevate only one guy, though. So if you have 5 guys that test positive, you can only elevate one guy.
If there's one positive, I don't even want to call it a positive, but if there's one change that I think the NFL should really look into because of COVID, that should continue even after COVID, and God, hopefully someday there is an after COVID, it should be some of these practice squad policies now, because I think it makes game better, makes the rosters a little deeper. It allows for veterans to hang on a little more. And not only that, it allows for young kids to be able to make 53s, because ordinarily Jordan Howard would be on the 53. And a young kid who are a 6th, 7th round pick would probably be lost in the shuffle, released, maybe claimed, maybe not, maybe on a practice squad, maybe not. Who knows? But in this case, they are. And you've got some veterans on practice squads who are, able to be used in any game. And I think that's been helpful. I think some of these things make the game better.
Speaking of that, I asked every general manager I saw on my training camp tour. They all said the same thing. Just like they love it. They can't imagine a scenario where the league doesn't go back to doesn't keep most of these rules. Mm-hmm. The one that they're not sure, because now there've been no hanky panky, because let's go to the IR rule. Short term is 3 games. Long term is a minimum of 6 games. They could come after, obviously they could, after they serve 6 games, they could come back for the next one. After 3 games, short term IR, you can come back for the 4th game. And there's no limits on how many players you can put on IR. That's the one where, just from talking to personnel people, they're not sure if the league will limit. They might have to come up with a number that's got to be negotiated. Mm-hmm. And the NFLPA's got to love this, because their players don't have to be cut anymore. Like, because what would happen is that, it was the old rules, like, okay, IR, you're either out for the season or you're not. It's like, remember, but you have to designate anyway. There's someone told, the personnel guy told me, he goes, just as an FYI, you probably didn't know this. He's like, right. But even on the old rules years ago, we still would have to designate how long the guy's going to be out for. Is it going to be all season or just before that? Sure. Because you could waive a guy off IR with an injury settlement, and then the guy could come back, or you could terminate the contract with an agreement with an injury settlement. But anyway, I like these rules. I mean, it's a shame that we had to have COVID for them to do this, but the league really, I give the league credit. They did a really good job of getting through this last year. You and I had our doubts, but what we did here is they're going to play the season no matter what. And a very strong league source said to me, he's like, dude, we're playing this season if we have to have 25 practice squad players through the season on the 53. He goes, we're playing the season. I'm like, okay, you're right.
Well, there was no better example last year of the whole we're playing no matter what than when the Denver Broncos had to start a practice squad wide receiver against the New Orleans Saints in a game. I mean, that was a very, very unfortunate, the whole QB room and the COVID and everything like that. I mean, a practice squad wide receiver had to start. That's rough.
And talking to the Titans recently, they've got another bad issue with COVID. Obviously, Mike Vrabel, wish him well. Though it looks like he's back either now or real soon. They had an issue on offense where, for most of the time in training camp, they didn't have more than 6 starters practicing at the same time on offense because of either injury or COVID. It's tough. It's tough to get through that, man. And by the way, teams that are fully vaccinated, like the Bucs and the Falcons, a couple other teams, they've got an advantage over the teams like the Colts, by the way, who up to a week ago had the lowest number of fully vaccinated players. That is a competitive advantage if you're going against a team that does not have a good COVID record, or obviously, I mean a good vaccination record. So we'll see how that works out.
Man, we will see. All right, so that'll wrap up the practice squad rules. I think that explains pretty much everything. The one thing I still think we need to find out, though, is when you elevate practice squad players to the 53, I think there's a limit how many times you can do that.
There is, and I need to find out. We'll get that straight out for on Thursday. No problem. Yeah. No problem. But I'm glad we did it because I know we had a lot of questions. It's also very confusing.
It is. It is. Everything's new.
Yes. So it's interesting, and I think you made a great point. It's for the betterment of the game. It's just good for players not have to be cut because they can't. Teams are limited to certain things they can do. Now it actually helps them.
All right, check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams. They are for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. You can check out all their wonderful work and their podcasts and everything on PHLSportsNation.com, or you can find them on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. And we'll pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our buddies at Sky Motor Cars. And if you go into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get the best deal.
Guess what?
What's up?
Steven Nelson, Eagles Corner, was there and just got a car from Sky.
He's a Sky Motor. He's in the family now? We're going to call it the family. Yeah, you're in La Familia now. All right, that's good.
Yeah, it's on their IG. It's on their Facebook page. And it was cool. He posted.
What did he choose? I didn't see the car. What's he driving?
I think he got a Durango. I don't remember. Nice. He's a big truck guy from our inside source. I.e. Brett Shoulder. Great Brett Shoulder. Yeah, he took a great picture with him, and it's interesting. Sheldon Brown, I guess he got a lot of cars when he was with the Eagles from Brett. Avante Maddox, and now Steve Nelson. So it's the it's a dealership.
You got a thing for cornerbacks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
All right. So while you were talking, I quickly looked on DraftKings Sportsbook, and they have the Falcons as right now. This is as we record this, 3.5 point favorites, which I think has been pretty consistent with whenever the first line ever came out. I think they view this matchup as two very even type teams, probably flawed in different ways.
Sure.
But they're giving the Falcons the 3 points for being at home. So I see that I think that's fair. I think it's a coin flip game. I don't know if I would echo your sentiment that you should feel very good about this, or that is one of the more. It's definitely one of the more winnable games in their first 6.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
Good.
That Carolina.
Fair. I just really believe that they have a good chance to win this game. Now, again, what you said is very fair. I get it, but I understand it's Matt Ryan, who's an experienced quarterback. He's been in a Super Bowl when they should have won. But the fact of the matter is, this team is completely different from, as we talk about the Falcons here. I did not know this until a week ago as I was gathering intel on the Falcons. This is great, and I give this kid credit. He's 30 years old, but I just remember when he was here in Philly with Chip Kelly. Give Josh Andrews credit. Unfortunately, he went on IR. He was going to start this season. Can you believe it?
Josh Andrews. Yeah, I remember when he was a practice squatter for Chip Kelly on the Eagles. Right. But he was good. You could tell he had talent. He was an Oregon State kid, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And look, Chip had him here and many years ago, and I give this guy credit. He's been, cut a bunch. He's been on practice squads and bounced around, and unfortunately broke his hand last Tuesday in practice. And unfortunately, he was on injury reserve. I mean, he's been with the Eagles, as you said. He's actually got a Super Bowl ring. He was on the Eagles practice squad all through 17. The Vikings, the Colts. I'm back to the Eagles in 18 briefly for 7 weeks. Jets. Now the Falcons, and he won a starting job. I mean, it's a shame. And here's the problem, folks. The Falcons don't really have a viable replacement. They're trying to figure it out. It could be one of the rookies, Drew Dolman or Jalen Mayfield. But this is kind of why I was saying I think the Eagles have a good chance. This to me, with the way Hargrave, he had a phenomenal training camp. You could argue, folks, if you graded the Eagles training camp players from 1 to 5, who's best, who are the top 5, I wouldn't argue with you if you said he was the best player in training camp. He was phenomenal. And this advantage they have, the Falcons have a bottom 10 offensive line. Yeah, not good when you're going against the Eagles' OD line. Not good.
No, I totally give the Eagles the advantage in the offensive line. I give them the advantage of the defensive line as well. And there's one thing that you look at the Falcons and you say, man, they just don't have pass rushers. I love Grady Jarrett. He's a good defensive tackle. I mean, every team has at least one good pass rusher. But after that, what are we talking about? Dante Fowler?
Right, who's
that's
not bad. I mean, they're going to move. Right? We'll talk more about this on Thursday, but they're going to 3-4. The great Dean Pease, who seemingly was always, he looks like he's in retirement, then he comes back. So he's back, and we know what they're going to do. As I said earlier, they're going to be a 12 personnel team, heavy run. Kyle Pitts, obviously from Philly, we love him. Hayden Hurst, former first rounder who they acquired last year from the Ravens, and Lee Smith, who at one time was the best blocking tight end in the National Football League. You know they're going to be heavy 12. They're not very deep at receiver, which helps the Eagles.
Right.
That's why I kind of feel good about this game for the Eagles here.
One thing we'll get into though, as you say that on the pregame show, is when you're saying that when they come out in a formation that might have, say, Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage on the outside, Hayden Hurst, is their tight end, and Kyle Pitts is their tight end slot.
Yeah,
that's 12 personnel, but you and I both know. I mean, we spent the entire pre-draft period saying that's really 11 personnel because that's Kyle Pitts is not just a tight end.
Fair enough, you got me. Fair enough.
No. You're making a heavy run. Still a tight end,
right? They're going to be heavy run. The Eagles have a tremendous. Matt Ryan's another one of these guys. Jaws would always tell me quarterbacks hate pressure up the middle. Boy, does Matt Ryan hate pressure up the middle. He just doesn't move very well. I expect these Eagles D-line to dominate. Now, if they don't dominate, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, who had the quietest 70-plus catches I've ever seen. It's like this Zacchaeus kid, number 17, who was kind of a nice surprise, who was an undrafted free agent in 19. So you're right, though. They don't have a very good, other than great Grady Jarrett and Dante Fowler's he's a good player. You know who's still there? Mr. Special Teams, but he gets every once in a while he plays on defenses. Stephen Means business. Stephen Means,
one of my favorite all-time Eagles. I mean that sincerely. He is an awesome dude. He works so hard. He's coming off an ACL injury, I think, early last year. So he missed most of the last year, I think it was. So he's coming back. And look, he might actually wind up getting on the field quite a bit because they just don't have a whole lot of explosive pass rusher. So if he's healthy, you may see him play a little bit. Oh, disruptive. Good player. Great special. He blocked, 3 kicks in 2017 with the Eagles? He had a bunch of blocks. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm telling you, that guy's a beast. He is everywhere. So I wouldn't put it past him. All right, we are definitely going to get into that more on Thursday. We'll have a little bit more of a breakdown, X's and O's. We'll start to preview the game. And you know what we should do Thursday, Adam?
One thing I was going to add. We have 3 people lined up for ITB TV. We've got a pecking order. It's just a matter of, the guy we really want, we have to see. It'll be a great surprise. We've put a request in. We'll see. We don't control the stuff. But whoever we have on is going to be phenomenal. So I just want to say, wait to hear this one. Ryan Paganetti, who was it 2 weeks ago, was on with us?
Yes.
He was phenomenal. Gosh, that was so good. The former analytics guy and game management guy for Doug Peterson is phenomenal.
That's right. I think on Thursday we should also do. I feel like we forget to do this every year. We got to do our NFL preseason picks. I mean, it's
hell yes,
the season starts Thursday night, so we
yes.
got to be on record for who our Super Bowl picks are and our award winners and Coach of the Year and all that stuff.
Some guy got me pretty badly. He showed me this happens every year. Like people will find stuff I've said about their team, and they'll just show it because I post them on Twitter. And I'll pin them for a couple days, and guys will find it because they love to pick on me. So you said this last year, you're wrong. You got me, dude. I'm not going to be right about 32 teams. It's impossible.
It happens. Do you remember who you picked for the Super Bowl last year? I remember my picks. I think.
I'm guessing it was I guess it would be Kansas City, probably New Orleans. I'm guessing.
I think that's it. I think that is. I think.
I remember being so frustrated with New Orleans. I can't stand them, and they're going to be bad anyway this year. But it's just. Oh, we absolutely will. But I usually get one of these sleeper teams right every year, and then I miss on the obvious ones. Something happens, a major injury. I got to get a sleeper team this year. I'm leaning towards the Chargers, but I need a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I last year picked the Chiefs and I think I picked the Chiefs and Seahawks.
Okay.
I either picked Chiefs, Seahawks, or I think what I remember saying was I really was rooting for Chiefs Packers because I wanted to see, Aaron Rodgers versus Mahomes. But I thought in my mind, it felt to me like it was going to be Chiefs Seahawks.
I'm leaning towards Bills. Josh Allen. I never thought he'd be this good, but hey, I'll happily admit that I was totally wrong. You've never seen this before in the history of the National Football League. The guy was so highly inaccurate. It's just you just don't see it. Boy, he got roasted. I mean. I'll give Chris Mortensen, my buddy from ESPN, love Mort, and he was the one guy who stuck up for Josh Allen, and he was really the only one when everyone was coming after him about the inaccuracy, even after his second year. I mean, I'm sorry, after his first year, he was obviously not very good. Second year saw improvement, but Mort never wavered. I got to give him credit. That was a great call. I don't know where he got it from, but I don't know. But he stood up for him, and the kid is an absolute stud.
Yeah, he is. I think a lot of people expect that the AFC Championship game is going to be KC Buffalo this year.
Got to be, but a lot
of time between now and then.
Yeah, and I think Buffalo's defense is better. In fact, I know their defense is better. I'm struggling with the NFC, man. I am struggling picking the NFC winner. I don't know. I mean, but Bucks obviously they're bringing everybody back. It's just so hard to get there back-to-back years. The Chiefs did it. It's just. Man, I don't know. I want to get another
tough. I'm liking I like the Rams a little. I like the Packers, of course.
I do. I got some intel. Yeah, so
Tampa still. Yeah.
Yeah, I got some good stuff on the Rams, but we'll see. You're right. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And then we got to do a little fantasy on Thursday, right?
Yeah, we'll get into that too. So we'll have everything covered.
One more. Draft Brian Edwards, folks. Brian
Edwards from the Raiders, right?
Go get him. Go late. Get him late. I mean,
yeah.
I got hosed because they listened to our fantasy show, John Hansen and I, but I'll definitely give you that one. You got to get Brian Edwards before your draft ends.
Right.
Your league's better than I, but trust, if you think someone's going to snipe you, but get Brian Edwards. He's a breakout player for me. If the guy could ever stay healthy,
I was going to say, then when he gets his busts up his ankle week 3, you can scream.
Don't say that,
you
man.
Knew we were going to happen. I'm just messing around.
Anyway,
all right, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in the Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. And, of course, his Twitter account, @Broads81, and his new website, broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.